The Iowa Hawkeyes knocked down the #2 team in the country, Ohio State, giving them their first loss of the season. Hey, this is a team that, let's put it out there now, that Steve said this is a Final Four team, and they're starting to look like it right now. Caitlin Clark went absolutely off, a triple-double in this win over Ohio State. The first time in a very long time, a 25-plus triple-double against an AP top 5 team. Let's break this one down, 83-72. This wasn't even a tight one. This one came down to Iowa really just looking good, winning by 11. Caitlin Clark took off with this one, but it was a team effort. Iowa looked real good. Steve, I know you're excited about this one, even though you're rocking that Ohio State hat on top. I know you're a huge fan of Caitlin Clark. Yeah, look at that Ohio State hat, Iowa jersey. I mean, you're all about it. Break us down this one as Clark triple-double leads number 10 Iowa over the number 2 Buckeyes.
You know, you keep hearing saying that, Ohio, Hawkeyes women's basketball, it's the Caitlin Clark show. It is, but there's a great ensemble cast here that we're talking about. And what makes Caitlin Clark extra special is that she brings out the best in the players around her. I mean, I think the only comparison I can think of would be Aaliyah Boston. Really, as great as she is, she brings out even more from her teammates. Caitlin Clark, even with the triple-double, she had 5 assists and a couple of rebounds before she even scored her first points. She likes to engage her teammates. I think she knows how special and how good that she really is. But it's not about her. I mean, it's a team effort for her. And then you look at players like, Sonato, who herself had a terrific game, as usual, a really big presence inside. That, for me, that was the big difference in this game. I mean, on paper, it was only like it was 22-18 as far as points in the paint. But really, Iowa dominated on the rebounds, out-rebounded Ohio State by 20. But again, Caitlin Clark got the ball into her. Sonato was great at kicking the ball out to her teammates. Kate Martin had a double-double. And nobody has not even mentioned that, the senior
rebounds.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's easy to gush about Caitlin Clark because she is so special. And there was a shot in the beginning of the fourth quarter, a 3-pointer she took, and literally, forget it being an NBA 3-pointer. I mean, it was, like some kind of alien nation 3-pointer. It was so deep, and her stroke is so clean, and it went right through swish. I mean, you can try to keep her out on the perimeter, but really, unless you're in her face, and you can't do that because of the other weapons, because of the ensemble cast, you can't really double team her or really be in her face because she will get the ball inside or to a teammate, and then they're going to do the damage. So I was really happy to see Iowa get a big win like this on the road. Whenever you're playing a ranked team, especially a team like Ohio State, you beat them. That's potentially a crucial tiebreaker down the road. When it comes to conference playoff seeding or whatever it would be, it's really, really important. So that's great. But even with Ohio State losing this game, they're still the number 2 team in the nation. I mean, they're just flat out the second best team in the country. They are so talented. So, there's so much length on this roster. I really, even though we're talking about how the front court really kind of dominated on the boards and all, you look at Cody McMahon. I mean, she's an inside-outside threat. Thierry, I really like her on the boards. She really didn't do as well on the offensive boards as she usually does. But, she's a great offensive rebounder. So, Ohio State got beat at home. Okay, that stings, that hurts. But if you're an Ohio State fan, don't get really, really bumped. You just got beat by a team that was literally firing on all cylinders. It was a night that you wish it was the Iowa Cyclones and not the Iowa State Cyclones, because literally it was a cyclone going through that arena. They completely dominated the pace of play.
Yeah, the Hawkeyes were fantastic in that one for Iowa. And speaking of Ohio State, Taylor McKessel didn't play as great as she normally does. She averages usually about 18, 19 points per game. She only shot 5 for 16 from the field and had 12 points. And that's something that really hurt them in this one, as you're talking that she is one of the player of the year candidates. There's Obviously, Caitlin Clark is one of them too, but we get two of them going off against each other. You want to see them both perform at their very best, and we didn't see that from Taylor in this one. I mean, the triple-double by Clark is absolutely amazing. 28 points, 15 assists, 10 rebounds. I think that we know that she's going to get the points. The most impressive part of that one to me is the 15 assists. I think that is just absolutely incredible. We talk about players like Nikki Mule from UConn, who leads the league in assists. I mean, I don't know if she's got 15 yet this year in one game. And she definitely hasn't have a triple-double. So that's just fantastic for Caitlin Clark. So far this season, Caitlin Clark is third in the nation in points. She is second in the nation in assists. I mean, that alone, you have to put her in consideration for player of the year. And if you don't have her as your top 3 and maybe not 2 or 3, you might need to go see your local doctor, Steve.
Again, she's the most exciting player in the country. Not the best player in the country. No, there can be arguments made that she's the best player in the country. But I think, even with my fanboy Caitlin Clark stuff that's been going on all season here, I will admit that she's not the best player in the country. She's the most exciting player to watch in the country. And we're talking about ranking teams, doing some kind of random rankings. I mean, that's what shows like us are supposed to do. Slasher U, Christian, we need to be ranking things because everybody else does. Come up with a ridiculous list of rankings or whatever. But I mean, you look at this matchup, you watched the 2 most exciting teams in the country, not the 2 best. South Carolina by far is the most dominating. I would think you could look at, let's say, UConn or Stanford, and even with UConn's turnover problems and Stanford's really, I mean, they may be the most fundamentally sound teams in the country. These are the 2 most fun, exciting teams in the country. So to have them match up and have a contest like that, I mean, Ohio State, okay, they got beat, but really they lost 2 quarters of this game. I mean, they lost in the second quarter and they lost in the fourth quarter. Everything else was relatively close. In fact, I even think they outscored Iowa in the third quarter of this game. So, it's not like it was a total disaster. Ohio State was just running into a brick wall in a lot of ways. I mean, no matter what they were doing, and again, with Mick Cassell having the off night, like you said, you can't afford for her to have an off night in a big game like this, but she's not going to have many. So I hate when we have teams like this up against each other, having to nitpick. You and I always go back and forth, and we kind of like say, boy, I hate to nitpick about this, but that's what our job is to get people talking about it. But I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking down Ohio State, even with this loss.
No way.
I can't, unless they would lose their next game, which I don't think is going to happen. I don't see them dropping out of the number 2 slot in the country.
Well, we'll get to that next game in just a minute. I think they do drop out of the second spot because we still have an undefeated LSU team in play. They are 20-0, just the same as South Carolina. So I do think that maybe we'll see, if we do see them drop, we could possibly see a flop between them 2 teams. AP voters love to keep Stanford as high as they absolutely do, even with the 2 losses. So I could see Ohio State drop as low as 4, although I would do, if it was my vote, I would pick South Carolina 1, LSU 2, Ohio State 3, because you put the 2 undefeated teams on top. I think that's well-deserved. As for Iowa, right now they're sitting at number 10. If no other teams above them lose, which 2 of them are facing off, so one of them is going to happen, I can see them go as high as 7 with this win. I think that is a fair assessment for that one. I think that's going to carry a lot of weight going into this one as we get farther and farther into Big Ten play, and then obviously talking about the tournament. Let's talk about that Ohio State game coming up next, because it is a huge one, Steve. They're heading to take on Indiana on the road, number 2 versus number 6 in the nation. This is a game that we have both been just drooling over, waiting for it to happen. We thought there was a possibility that both these teams could show up undefeated. Well, they're going to both show up with 1 loss, so that's pretty dang close. We'll take that one. Indiana is coming off a pretty nice win streak. Ohio State obviously had a 19-game win streak until this loss against Iowa. This game is going to be fantastic. You're going to see this one at 8:30 p.m. on Thursday night. This one should be fantastic. What's your thoughts on this one? You kind of leaned in, already said you think Ohio State will win this one. They'll be able to bounce back. That's what it sounds like you were saying.
Yeah, I really do. I think this is a very resilient bunch. They're a well coached team. That's not a knock against Indiana. I mean, I've really been impressed, with how Indiana has played this year. I think they've even played, I don't want to say above their talent, but I mean they've gotten every ounce of talent out of the roster, and not just their starting five. I mean, it's a great basketball team. I just think that that Ohio State rather, matches up better against Indiana than perhaps they've matched up against Iowa.
Very good point. And I think I agree with you at that one as well. As for Iowa, they'll finish the month. They got one more game left this month, the 28th on Saturday, 1 o'clock Eastern. They're going to host Nebraska. Nebraska's had an up and down season. They're 12-8 right now. They're not doing that great in the Big Ten, 4-5 record. As for Iowa, they're at 8-1. They're leading the Big Ten because they're technically still tied with Ohio State at the top of the Big Ten. Obviously, that tiebreaker gives them the win. Indiana's also in the mix with 8-1 as well, but Iowa leading the Big Ten. That's very important to keep that in mind. Someone that you keep predicting, Steve. Go ahead, keep tooting your horn on that one. But Nebraska 4-5, really, they are the best team that's not ranked in the Big Ten. If you really want to put that into consideration, and I think I will, this will be a really good matchup. However, I think if Iowa plays exactly like they did against Ohio State, maybe even a step down, I think they can still get this win.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting matchup inside with Nebraska and Iowa. I mean, I think Sonata is going to be challenged maybe more than she has been in some games. I'm surprised that Nebraska is struggling in the Big Ten. I mean, I know they had some tough games, tough regional games, and losses, in the pre-conference schedule. But I can't quite figure out this Nebraska team. And when you're a coach, when you're the coach on the other side, and a team's not playing up to what they could, you get even more nervous. Like Indiana, Ohio State, what to expect from both of them, what they've been doing. Nebraska's kind of been, up and down. It really hasn't been firing on all cylinders. If I'm the coach coaching against Nebraska, I'm more nervous about that than playing a team like Ohio State or Indiana, because it's a sleeping giant. You just don't want to be on the other end of that. When they finally put it together and have that game, they can do. You don't want to be the team they do it against. So I would actually be a little nervous for Iowa, but unless Nebraska really does come out and does push Iowa around a little bit, I think Iowa, if you're going to point to a weakness, even though they are very good inside, I think you can push them around if you really want to get up in their face. And if you say, okay, fine, Caitlin Clark's going to beat us from the perimeter, but we're going to really try to shut everything down. Maybe play a really tight 2-3 zone or whatever to try to maximize what you can do as far as points in the paint. Okay, maybe you can pull it off. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Iowa will prevail here, but it's going to be an interesting game, and that's the great thing about conference games, especially Big Ten conference games. There's always a chess match going on. Even if a team doesn't have a great record and they're struggling a little bit, there's still some some gambits that can be played by any team in the conference that could actually give them a surprise win.
Caitlin Clark has shot over 25 points in 5 of her last 6 games. She has been over 20 points in every single game this season, with the exception of one against Iowa State, where she shot a measly 19 points in that one. So, I mean, it's just impressive. Oh, I mean, if you're going to play the odds on that one, if you can pick over under and 20 points is the line, slam the over and don't think twice about it twice on Sundays. This is going to be a fantastic matchup for Ohio State and Indiana coming up. We'll have you covered here at Slasher U by far, without a doubt. Go ahead and leave us a comment below, hit like and subscribe while you're there. Let us know your thoughts on Ohio State. Do you think they should fall? And if so, how much? And in Iowa, how far do you think they should go up? What's your thoughts on Caitlin Clark? Do you think she is the most exciting player in the college basketball realm this year? Let us know all your thoughts below. And thanks for watching Slasher U.